Hello everyone, I'm Spiritualist, Psychic Astrologer and Medium, Sette. Thank you once again for sharing this time with me and offering me this opportunity to share with you my higher self's insights into the astrological and spiritual possibilities of the month of October 2017. As I've mentioned many times before, we are very quickly moving through this auspicious year of 2017, and even though it may not seem so, there are many blessings out in the universe being offered to us from the universe, from Spirit, for us to really embrace. And I suggest to recognize as we move through such tumultuous experiences as we have seen over the course of this last month, to recognize our personal connection with Spirit, as well as being given the opportunity to truly be a bright light in everyone's life. You know, whenever we see such destruction and devastation out in the world, this is really opportunities for us to really recognize our higher self and to be instruments of light in every one of our lives, certainly for ourselves and for each other. What's been coming to mind in these last few weeks for myself is the prayer of Saint Francis, asking Spirit to be an instrument of peace. When we see such horrors taking place in the outer world, when we choose to really be an element, an instrument of peace, certainly we generate that peace throughout humanity, and that peace certainly returns to us 100-fold. We begin with our full moon, which is on October 5th, and for those who like the exact time, it is at 2:41 p.m., and that is Eastern Daylight Time. The moon is in the sign of Aries, and what's interesting and prominent at this full moon is that Pluto is rising over the horizon at the exact moment of the full moon. And the charts that I read are charts cast for the United States, located in Washington, D.C. Whenever we have Pluto very much present in a chart, especially when Pluto is rising at the time of a full moon, you know, many times we can see those in the outer world trying to flex their muscles and inflict their power over us. And I will always inspire every one of us to recognize, when we recognize our own power and when we know our power, nothing, absolutely nothing in the outer world has any power over us. And as I said, certainly this knowing does not mean that we inflict our power on others, for then we really lose the blessings at hand in terms of recognizing that power for ourselves. We're not intended to disempower another. We're here to recognize the power and the light that's inside of us. And at this full moon, I inspire everyone to really recognize that element of empowerment that is within themselves. And if we do see any less than loving experiences coming to form in the outer world, use that power, use that light within you to generate love to all of those places and all of those people who may wish to disempower so many individuals, especially world leaders who have the desire to disempower and to create destruction. You know, as ominous as anything might seem in the outer world, when there are enough of us gathering together from a place of love, we certainly can absolutely diffuse any malevolent experience from coming to form in the outer world. Remember, whenever we look to the future, nothing is written in stone, and we will always have the opportunity to diffuse any negativity that may potentially come to form. So as we move through this month of October, let us observe what is taking place in the outer world. Observe with a bit of detachment, because when we're detached from what happens in the outer world, we allow ourselves to clearly recognize what is unfolding for the highest good of all of humanity. And even though it may not always seem so, what's taking place right now certainly is coming to pass, coming to form for the highest good of all concerned. Remember, chaos will always precede great and powerful change. And yes, we are in times of chaos, and we are certainly ushering times of great and powerful change. So, at the time of the full moon, as I said, recognize the light, the power that's inside of you. Also, Pluto is forming a creative and dynamic alignment, as I call it, to Mercury. That alignment offers us the opportunity to regenerate our thoughts. This is also an opportunity to recognize the power of our minds. Remember, before anything comes to form in our lives, it first takes place, it formulates itself in our mind, which isn't necessarily connected to the brain. The mind exists in every cell of our body. That's this higher vibrational frequency that is also connected to our higher self, higher intelligence, and higher knowing that vibrates in the fibers of our being. At this full moon, allow yourself as much as you can to be abundantly aware of all thoughts at all times, because this element of manifestation and our ability to manifest very, very quickly is very present at this time. I would suggest recognizing, be very careful of what you wish for, because it might certainly come to you very, very quickly. Allow yourself to be aware of generating thoughts of love, healing, harmony, balance, and peace, especially at the time of the full moon. If you're feeling a surge of energy, this is another time for us to propel ourselves forward, especially along the lines of our personal endeavors. The full moon is in the sign of Aries. Aries is the sign that connects with the entrepreneur. Those of us who are endeavoring to really recognize our own entrepreneurship within ourselves, this is a time to do so. And if you've been desiring to create many things that are very entrepreneurial, do it at this time. Recognize that this full moon is an auspicious opportunity to really allow yourself to embrace that element of being the entrepreneur and initiating some very positive and powerful elements that everyone can certainly benefit from. On October 10th, Jupiter, who we refer to as the Greater Benefic, moves from Libra into the sign of Scorpio. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, so whatever sign it is transiting, it will expand upon the elements of that sign. Scorpio connects with regeneration. It also represents power and empowerment. So as Jupiter moves through Scorpio, we are continually being given opportunities to truly understand power. That's not power that disempowers another. This is the power, the light of divinity. Scorpio, who is ruled by Pluto, also represents our connection with the spirit realm. As Jupiter moves through Scorpio, it's a great time to recognize your own personal connections with the spirit realm. Whenever I address a group of individuals, right before I begin one of my events, I will always inspire every one of us to recognize our own personal connections with the spirit realm. And as Jupiter transits through Scorpio, it's a great time to explore that knowing for yourself. Scorpio and Pluto, the planet and the signs of regeneration. So allow yourselves to personally recharge your battery as Jupiter transits through the sign of Scorpio. Jupiter transits the sign for about a year, maybe a little bit more so, depending on its speed and its the time that it moves retrograde. But Jupiter will transit a sign for about 12, 13 months. So we've got about a year now of Jupiter being in this sign of regeneration, the sign of empowerment, as well as the sign which allows us to recognize our connections with spirit and the spirit realm and our own psychic faculties. The new moon is on October 19th, and our new moon this month is in the sign of Libra. Libra connects and represents the natural world. It represents nature. Also, astrologically, we believe that the earth itself has a Libra rising because the earth, it's nature, it's the natural world. At this new moon, I suggest for us to recognize our own connections with nature and the natural world. You know, the more that we can choose to recognize when we are generating unbalanced energy, and when there are so many storms within ourselves, when we can recognize that and calm those storms within ourselves, we will calm the storms in the outer world. And when we allow ourselves to be very present in nature, in the natural world, we are at peace. We are grounded and connected to the energy of the earth. We experience harmony, balance, peacefulness. Being in nature also cleanses our energy and auric field. At this new moon, set the intention in motion to allow yourselves to recognize your own personal connection with nature. As I said a few moments ago, Jupiter moving through the sign of Scorpio, and also the sun will transit into the sign of Scorpio on October 23rd. Allow yourselves, when we're in nature, we also receive guidance and inspiration from spirit. So the sun, our new moon, and the sun being in Libra, as well as Jupiter and the sun being and transiting the sign of Scorpio, connecting with spirits in the natural world is another opportunity for us to really work on ourselves and recognize our guidance that comes to us from the spirit realm. A few weeks ago, I facilitated a spiritual discussion group, and the topic of the group was "We, People, and Planets Are One." And certainly at this new moon, being in the sign of Libra, we are offered the opportunity to really recognize and truly know and understand that never dissevered connection with our earth and spirit that exists in nature. You know, the shamans had a very powerful understanding of this. The shamans, as well as the Native American, they truly understand the connections with the natural world, that every one of us has the ability to tap into. These are the times for us to tap into these blessings of our connections with the natural world, as well as our connections with one another. We are certainly in these last few years have been given the opportunities to recognize how we are not separate from one another as human beings, and also we are not separate from our earth. A few years back, was probably now in the 80s, and I'm not remembering. There was a documentary that made these observations of the Earth from afar, and looking down at Earth, we can see how the rivers are almost very much like veins and bloodstreams, and densely populated areas such as cities like New York and Los Angeles from afar appear as cancer cells. You know, the earth very much is an organism. So let's recognize, as we are healing and allowing ourselves to heal, we are certainly healing the wounds of our planet. And when we do that, when we allow ourselves to exist from that higher place of knowing, we will not see so many disturbances and destructions that take place in the outer world. We're also being given opportunities to recognize what we conventionally to believe to be a natural disaster. Quite honestly, metaphysically and spiritually, is very unnatural. Those experiences are another reflection and indication of imbalances that exist within every one of us. As I said, when we calm the storms within ourselves, we will calm the storms in the outer world. As we move through these times and always, let's continue generating the element of love, the energy of love to our planet. It certainly needs it now more so than ever, and so that we can potentially offset any other destruction from taking place every day. Let's include in our intentions the healing for ourselves and the healing for our earth. So, once again, I'm Spiritualist Ray Sette. Thank you for offering me this time to share these insights with you. I send you love and blessings on your spiritual journey, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Stay well, stay in the light, and always in a place of love.